Hey everyone, it's me, Patsy Bogat. I'm here again to make yet another video. Hopefully, this is a video that you can relate to and you could write down below if you agree with it or not. And you can add your own synopsis and even share your own experiences. Now, what I'm getting at in this particular video is the very notion of not so much of something it like being negative. It doesn't have to be all negative. There's positivity in it. And what I mean by this is last night I had a dream, and this dream was it was demonic. Um Planes came toward me, right? These came toward my home, and I'm watching these planes come. And what ended up happening is that whoever the pilots are of these planes, they skillful, skillfully dodged my home, and then they landed on the yard and things of that nature. And despite the fact that I felt somewhat fearful, but I wasn't affected by any means of these planes hitting my home, unless I wanted them to, which no one would. But I remember at the end of this dream, Antaratu came, just appeared, just to show his face, and I knew it was demon inspired. But the whole idea of me bringing up this dream that Antaratu is um, helping to communicate with me is that presently I have this fear that is gnawing at me, and this fear isn't something that's actually rational, or should I say it is rational, but I need to fall back on what I know. Hence, when I look at that dream and I unfold this dream, as a package, I just unfold it. I look at it in this way. When I look at the dream, the rational, there's that word again, right? The rational decision is to just to bounce, to leave that particular home because there's airplanes coming to hit you, to kill you. Um, that seems very rational. But you know what? I've learned that in a situation like that, you need to just put your hands up. You need to just put your hands up. So, in other words, you want to let go and just let it happen. Because right now, friends, just so you know, as a backstory, I'm like in flow state right now. Like, I really try to reach out for you, friends, so you could try to understand where I'm coming from. But I get to the finer points. Not that what I'm saying are not fine points, but in this flow state, I really do mean the best in what I say, where you want to let go and just let things happen. Because when you cannot control a situation, right, you want to go with the flow. Because either those planes hit me or not, there's really not much I could do. Because even if I were to leave that particular room of that house, if I were to just think about it, the impact of that plane could just blow up, and I'd be dead anyway. But still, the rational person would just leave anyway. But if you're like myself, you want to do the opposite, and what that means is, let me put it this way. I'm gonna illustrate it this way. Before you came into the left-hand path, like myself, this is obviously what you wanted to do, but it's only when you really thought about it when you saw that it was the most irrational thing to do. Because the bulk of the world, we're talking about a high percentage of this world, they don't like demons. They're very prejudiced. There's racism, bigotry against these demons. They just hate them. And it is so illogical for the world, if you follow their line of logic, to go ahead and speak to these particular demons, because they will throw stones at you. That's for sure. It's so illogical to do that. But yet, we do so. You get what I'm trying to develop here? Sometimes you have to let go and just do what the fuck you gotta do, because you have to throw yourself into that abyss, into that lake of fire, so to speak, because it's like I acknowledge the fact that there is insanity within me. I never claimed that I was normal or whatever have you. You know, I mean, I have Satan tattooed on my fucking arm. I'm here. My whole entire YouTube channel is devoted to Satan, to the glory of Satan. I spent close to $1,000 for this YouTube channel, for the equipment, so that I can say these things only because Satan told me to. I'm fucking insane. I mean it. I'm fucking insane. I cannot tell you enough that sometimes you just have to fucking let go. Just let things go. Let it go and just let it be. And that's my solution to this particular situation that I was going under. And let me tell you about the situation. The situation is that it's been about 4 to 5 years. Anyone like myself who's been with Satan for a very long time, you realize that to manifest something, a really big, desire, it takes a good 4 to 5 years for that to come about. It takes a while. And some may get it sooner, some may get it later, whatever. But according to Satan, out of his mouth himself, 4 to 5 years. Last month was the 5th and final year of this manifestation, and it never happened. And this is where everything ties in. Instead of me thinking too much, thinking too rational, being inside my fucking head, thinking about how it never happened, why it never happened, and things of that nature, I don't do that. I just let it go. Because regardless of the timing of it, I know my job isn't to sit there and feel fucked up about it. Because I felt that way yesterday, not throughout the day, but there's a certain time when this idea entered my mind and it really messed me up. And it's not really, that's one of the points. The second point really should have been the first thing I've mentioned. But that particular point, it was basically that when Satan came to me the beginning of this year, and is the causality of losing my job, not due to the coronavirus, but due to him just taking my job away, saying he's the causality of it, and he's aligning me with my manifestation. I'm simply thinking to myself, well, then that means that I'm much more closer. I try not to say to myself that means I'm going to get it. It just simply means that I'm just being pushed a lot more closer to my manifestation, because it's not about the outcome, but it's really the journey. I know I sound cliche, but it's the steps you take, and I get that. But when I compared that second point with the first point I made, and I combined it, and I'm like, it's been literally 5 years. It's been almost like a rodeo show, and now I'm tired of actually giving excuses. Now it's like, all right, if all your cards and chips are on the table, why haven't I not received it now? Remember what I said earlier. If you get too logical about it, it's not going to make sense to you. Or at least it's going to make sense, but you're going to end up developing a lot of negative, let's say, ideals, like nihilism and so forth, atheism, not just in mainstream religions, but in the spirituality of the left-hand path, and then you end up leaving because you thought about it. It sounds logical, just like I said about that dream. It's logical to just run because there's a fucking airplane, right? But like I said, you have to just let it go. And it takes insanity to do that. Am I insane? The answer is yes. That's why when I look at what I do, I stop giving meaning to everything that I do. In other words, stop being too strict or too logical with how things are supposed to be. If Satan says 4 to 5 years and those 5 years is up, then from my experience, it seems as if like it's about time that I don't simply just sit there and I brood over it. I don't make it a big deal. It's one of those things where just be in flow state, just follow the flow and see what happens. Because we don't know what's about to happen. I don't know what's about to happen. because being unemployed right now, and it's been more than it's about it's April now, so it's 4 months of me being unemployed, and it just didn't make any sense in the initial, um, problem as I was thinking about it because you know if you were to be taken out of a job, what's the point of inheriting another job that's equally the same in every way? There may be some differences, but it's equally the same thing. I mean, for all that, I could have stayed at my job, or I could have stayed at my job and still looked for an equally, you know, just unbearable job. You know, either it be by pay, the people I work with, whatever. You know what I mean? And that's why, if you understand what I'm trying to develop here, it is an issue if you think about it, but not too much. Like I said, you don't think too much about it, but you understand where I'm coming from. You can understand why Antaratsu gave me that dream, because it is terrifying. Let's acknowledge that airplanes are about to kill you. It is terrifying that if I think about it, put it in perspective, that Satan says something's going to happen, you take my job away, and at the end of this particular unemployment, either I get a job or not sooner or later, I was under the impression that I'm going to get my manifestation. Now, for those who are new listening, working with the Dark Lords could be quite frustrating. And I don't mean that in a way of bashing them. It's telling it like it is. Anyone who's followed my videos know that I like to tell it like it is. They're frustrating because they could put contradictions your way, lies, mistrust, and things of that nature. But the irony of it all is that at the end of the matter, it makes sense that they do it. Right? And that's exactly how I'm going to see it. Because if you follow logic all the time, you're not going to arrive at the answer that you should arrive at or where you need to be at. Like, for example, if this was some years ago, all right, and you were in Nazi Germany and these Nazis knocked on your door and then they were to ask you, is Anne Frank in your house? Well, you could rationally tell them and morally tell them, yeah, she's in my house. And that would be the rational decision. But the point that we're trying to develop is that you don't want to give that answer because you want to give the opposite, which means you want to lie about it. And the reason being is that you want to preserve life as opposed to what the government is saying. Because if they're trying to kill people, why would I tell them the truth if the truth leads to people dying? See, I'm not saying it's the same thing, but it's the same sense. Instead of rationally plotting out certain things, trying to do things for yourself, if things don't work out the way you think it did, or what oppression you may have been under, because a demon says so, because that person says so, and they all may be very legit sources, try to do the opposite. Because in my years in the left-hand path, I realized that demons, spirits, they communicate with you through synchronicities, a language, through different mediums that is not really logical. Hell, being a part of the left hand path, like I said in the beginning, is not logical within itself. That's why I said that. It's not logical. You have to do the exact opposite. If everyone else is saying that it's not good and they believe in some Jesus or whatever have you, this mainstream religion, and I'm looking on the left side of me and I see this darkness, this black abyss, and it just looks terrifying. And I'm attracted to that. It touches my heart, which it does. And I'm motivated to go there, to jump into the abyss, to that lake of fire. I'm going to do that. And look at where I'm at. So it's the same approach with this line of reasoning. Yes, it's a very, very big decision that should not take little thought. That's why I made many videos just like this, but I kept on deleting them because they weren't they weren't in the same flow state that I'm in right now. Whereas I want to hit those points and I could transmute what I'm saying to you to the best of my ability. So for those who are really listening, like they're really listening, they're really learning, and they're understanding that, yo, this guy on YouTube, he's legit because he's not talking about how he's at the end of it all and he received his manifestation. No, he's talking about how he's in a position with this particular demon and things did not happen, and he's teaching not to give up. How many people on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure there are out there, that they have not experienced their manifestations and they're still teaching individuals not to give up, or at least in this sense of the way, you don't want to give up. Not that I want to advocate the whole phrase of not to give up, because there's times when you have to give up, but in this situation you don't want to give up. It's like an Olympian that trains many years for a particular race, at the Olympics. He or she doesn't just fall back on what they know the day of the Olympics. No, they fall back on what they know. So it's the same thing in what I'm saying. I've trained for this many, many years. And all this experience is teaching me that though I at times fall, because I'm imperfect, I am a human being like everyone else, I am able to get on camera and tell the world my mistakes, being honest, and saying I have fallen, but this is what I have learned from falling, and I'm going to get right back up, and I'm going to encourage other people what to do and what not to do, because it takes a lot of personal resonance between you and I to really resonate on the same level and go, you know what, I understand you, dude, because it's not easy to work with a Dark Lord that's very confusing, that wants you to hit, your head on the wall. It's like, are they tricksters? Is this really Loki that I'm dealing with? Is it high surprise? I'm really, this evil god this whole entire time. You know, it's like you have to go through these things to really understand yourself, the situation, and the characteristics of these particular spirits. That's why I came to conclude that despite how I feel, what I'm going through, just let it go. Just let it go. Go with the flow. Don't look for perfection. Just go with it. Because the least case scenario of this all is that you're going to be that individual that when you look at these things, it's going to be one of those situations where you're just going to look back at it and go, I'm happy I did the right thing. Because what matters to me now is that I stay within the left hand path and I continue doing what I do, because it doesn't make sense, or at least to me it doesn't make sense, because I'm already a profound individual, that I would tell you myself that I am already insane. We all are in our own special ways, and how we perceive our reality is subjected to what we see and what we feel. So how I feel and what I see is, you just want to sometimes give up that rational thought of being too grounded, because being too grounded, it could knock you off balance. Your intuitive side could be speaking to you. The demons could be speaking to you. And if you write it all off, then what benefit is that going to be for you? So that's why it's best not to do that. And it's best to just let it go. Let it go, watch what happens. And there's no major harm in doing that, because you have individuals that do these black magic spells and they're gone the very next day, because they put so much emphasis on something, and because it never happened, well, I won't say never happened, but it didn't happen the way they expected, they leave. But what if it happens some other way? You know what I mean? It's like people don't really think in terms of that. They really make it more difficult than what it's not. Because if you look at my situation, I did not receive what I asked for. It doesn't matter if it was last month, it's in July, at the end of the year. My job was taken away from me from Satan. But you know what? I said this to myself. Either it was last month, July, or the end of this year, I still want to hang on tight, and to not think about this too much, because even if I don't receive it, Satan has taking my job away to be in an equally inferior job lifestyle, which doesn't make sense to me. But you know what? It's one of those things where you still want to say to yourself, just allow that to happen, because you may not want it to happen, but situations like that may have to take place so that you can learn something. I mean, it's, to me, I have like these thoughts come into my mind where it's like I may be dragged down the wrong path. I may be that individual where it's like I could be just enslaved by Antaratu, Satan, all these demons, just a slave of theirs. You know? That's what it's all about. Crossing your fingers, trust it, but you wouldn't be more pragmatic. And pragmatic, in this sense of the way, would be you could trust it as much as you want, but make sure you take care of yourself in the most pragmatic way possible. And that simply means that as the day draw nears, right? As the day draw nears, don't put too much emphasis on something that you don't fully understand. That is something that I want you to take away from. If you don't fully understand, it seems like it's a lie. It seems like things are this all failed. Dude, don't put too much into it. That's why I say do not put too much meaning into it. You put too much meaning into it, you're just gonna blow up in your face. Just let it go. And that way, when the opposite happens, you see, it's like you're not telling the demons you do whatever you want to me, in a sense where it's a Judo Christian belief system where God is right because he's God, or he's right because he's right, even though that's a contradiction within itself. No, it's not that at all. See, you're an individual that does these things, but you do it because at the end of the matter, if you're on the same level as I am, you've been with Satan for a very long time, you've seen all the satanic blessings, you've seen him do a lot of shit that is really impossible, but yet things happen. And mind you, it doesn't have to be Satan, it could be any of the demonic. Then you know that this is just another drill. It's just something that you just have to not pay too much attention to. Because as much as I try to reason it out, I'm like, well, this is the same thing as yesterday, and the year before that, and the year before that. But there lies the answer. If this is the same thing, then it means there's something that you're not learning. Even though recently Satan helped me to appreciate that I've learned everything. There's nothing I really need to learn. So what this means right now is just apply it. And applying what I learned is simply that. Don't sit there and think too much about it, man. Get yourself out of your head. Let things work. And you know what? The demons are going to appreciate that because, again, without being, I guess, Judo-Christian like, it takes faith on your part to just go, well, you know what? I'm going to leave it in their hands anyway because just let it be. And before I end this video, I did some shadow work on myself, and again, my shadow side didn't use language, but it used metaphor language. It's giving me a tree in my, as I was doing shadow work, and that tree resembled prosperity, abundance. It resembled how someone is firm in what they believe in. And that makes a lot of sense. Because no matter what comes their way, they're firm in their belief. You see, that's why I say that don't take this video negative from the outset. Because as it sounds very dire and serious, because if Satan says he's going to do something and it doesn't happen, what do? You've been waiting 5 long years for this and it never happened. Are you like that tree that just is well rooted to that ground despite the adversities? Are you going to stand there and be a tree, or you're going to act as if you're just that leaf that's part of a tree that when the wind blows, you choose to depart from that tree and go with the wind. You can if you want, but I'd rather be the tree because I love what I do. I love the demons. I love how they teach. And I love how I'm able to articulate matters the way I'm doing now. Because it's in my own words, it's from my own heart. And there lies genius within itself because this video is my own journal of black magic. Listening to me speak, you friends are learning on what you should be doing on the left hand path and on your spiritual journey, and that's not to give up on it despite adversity. So with that said and done, friends, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope that you guys all smash that like button. I love you all. Thank you, and see you in my next video. Bye.